Okay, I watched Romeo and Juliet. You're supposed to watch this movie with your teachers on Zoom. You'll see that on the calendar packet. I believe that is on April 14th, but I can double check and I'll email you guys. So the movie starts out, it's a competition between the two families that are fighting or feuding, and they haven't been getting along for a long time. And so they're riding on their horses, kind of like doing a jousting kind of competition. So the point of this competition is that the prince wants these two families to solve their arguments in a competitive way that is more peaceful, instead of fighting in the streets and disturbing the townspeople. So Tibble, he loses to Mercutio and throws down his helmet and he spits. Thibault, Juliet's cousin, Juliet is Thibault's cousin, and Romeo is Mercutio's cousin. So next in the movie, you see Juliet's running up a spiraling staircase, while her nurse is trying to keep up with her. And there's going to be a party that night, and Juliet needs to hurry up, and she needs to get ready for the party. Now, Tibble is mad because he lost, okay? He lost the competition. And so a fight breaks out between the two families. And then, so they're all kind of fighting, and but the women start to break it up. And then the prince comes up on his horse, and he tells them if they fight with each other out in public, they will be killed. He tells them not to disturb the town. Next, Romeo is telling Balthazar, who is his loyal servant, about how in love he is with Rosalind. His cousin, or no, not his cousin, that's a mistake. His Balthazar, his loyal servant, tries to convince him to find someone else because she's the niece of the Lord Capulet, okay, who is Juliet's father, and he is a Montague. Juliet's father is talking to Paris about marrying his daughter Juliet. So basically, he's starting to tell Paris that it's okay if he tries to win over Juliet. Okay. So there's for the party. He's giving out the invitations to the party. So the servant takes the invitation list, but he doesn't know how to read. So he sees Romeo in the market. He doesn't know who Romeo is, but he asks him if he can read, and so Romeo reads it. He finds out about the party, and he decides he's going to go to this party to see Rosalind, who he's in love with at this time. Later on, Juliet's nurse is telling her to hurry up again, get ready for the party. The nurse, you can tell she really loves Juliet, that she's been taking care of Juliet since she was a baby. She's talking about Juliet as her child, how she behaved as a child. Now, her mother has more of a formal or not as close of a relationship with the daughter, and she sees her daughter now as a woman, and the nurse is kind of saying, no, she's still a kid, basically. She's not ready to grow up quite yet. But her mother tells her, Juliet, that Count Paris wants to marry her. She asks her if she can love him, and Juliet says she'll try if that's what her parents want. Romeo and his friends are outside, messing around, teasing each other about love. And they wonder if they really should go to this party because they're not supposed to, because the Capulets are their enemy. So at the party, everyone wears masks, so it's easy for them to sneak in. Juliet sneaks in with his loyal servant, and he sees Juliet. He falls in love right away. He doesn't even remember Rosalind at all at this point. So he dances with Juliet, and then Tibble, the guy who was really angry about losing the fight, who is Juliet's cousin, recognizes Romeo, wants to fight right away. But Juliet's father's like, no, you can't do it. People get hurt. The prince will get mad. We cannot do it. So he tells him, no, basically you can't do it. Tybalt's like, oh, this is going to turn out really bad. And he tells Juliet's father it's going to turn out not good at all, right? Like bitter corn. Juliet takes Romeo out of the party room into a quiet room. He lifts her mask and falls in love even more. He holds her hand palm to palm. He asks to kiss her, and he does. The nurse sees them kissing and tells her that her mother wants to see her. So Juliet rushes off. Romeo learns who Juliet is and realizes he's in love with the daughter of the Lord of the Capulet family. Juliet learns who Romeo is from the nurse, and then she has like a discussion with Tibble where he's like really, says, oh, I love you, but I'm warning you, you better not do this. And she gets upset with him. So it's still nighttime. It's after the party. And Romeo's thinking, I should go home, but this is where my heart is. I want to be with Juliet. So he hops over the fence into her garden. And he talks about his love for her and how beautiful she is when he sees her at the balcony. He overhears her talking to herself out loud about how much she loves him. So he's kind of eavesdropping. He finally speaks up, and then she's like, oh my gosh, he's been listening to me this whole time. I'm so embarrassed. So he climbs up her balcony. Even though it's really dangerous, he says, not even 20 swords will keep me away from her. She tells him, is your love real? If it is real, then she basically is vowing her love to him. And they kiss. Romeo shows up early to see the friar. So the friar's like, I know something's up because you don't usually wake up this early in the morning. You must not have went to bed last night. Were you with Rosalind? He's like, no, I don't even think about her anymore. I've already forgotten her name. He tells him about Juliet. And the friar doesn't take him that serious because he was just in love with Rosalind. But Romeo makes a case that if the two were to marry, that would mend the relationship between the two families. So the friar agrees to marry Romeo and Juliet. So Balthazar, the loyal servant, tells him that Tibble has challenged him in a letter. The nurse of Juliet comes to the gate of Romeo's home. Romeo tells the nurse that he wants Juliet to go to the church and marry him that day. The nurse lets him know about Paris wanting to marry Juliet. The nurse returns to Juliet. She's playing with her, teasing. She knows that Juliet wants to know right away what Romeo wants, but she's just playing with her, and she makes her wait a whole long time, messing around, till she finally tells her, hey, that Romeo wants to marry you today. So Juliet arrives to the church, and Friar Lawrence marries Romeo and Juliet. Thibault is all angry. There's a scene where he's fighting with the swords, or not fighting, he's practicing sword fighting. And the nurse comes after the wedding when Romeo and Juliet are out by the lake and says, hey, you better hurry up and get home because Thibault's really angry. So Tibble and his men approach Romeo, Mercutio, and the other men. Romeo tells Tibble he doesn't want to fight him. He wants peace. He really doesn't want to have any problems. But Tibble is very angry. He doesn't listen. So he goes after Mercutio, and a sword fight starts. Romeo asks him to stop. He's not fighting. He gets in the way, sort of, and I think it kind of gives Tibble an opportunity to kill Mercutio. Now, Mercutio says that as he's dying, that the best intentions pave the way to hell. So Romeo goes after Tibble because Tibble killed Mercutio, and they fight, and Romeo kills Tibble. The prince hears their case. So the families tell the prince what has happened. The Capulets want Romeo dead, but the prince decides to banish him instead. Juliet is upset that Tibble has been killed by Romeo. So she's sad that her cousin's dead. And so part of her hates Romeo, but she still loves Romeo. And then she also knows her cousin is kind of a hothead that probably started it. When her nurse blames Romeo, she sticks up for Romeo, who is now her husband. The nurse tells her that Romeo is being banished from Verona. The nurse goes to find Romeo to tell him to come by and say goodbye to her before he leaves. Romeo learns he will not face death, but that he's been asked to leave Verona. He's been banished. He is upset and talks about killing himself because he's thinking, I don't want to live if I can't be with Juliet. The friar thinks he should feel lucky that he is not going to be killed. And then eventually, because Romeo's being very dramatic and, saying he's going to kill himself, he tells him to calm down and they'll come up with a plan so that he can be with Juliet. Juliet's father is worried that now that Thibault is dead, Juliet is the only one left in their family that can have children to carry on the family name. So her mother wants him to give her some time. So Lord Capulet, Juliet's father, is very serious. Only thing you think about is having Juliet marry court Paris or whatever. So the mom's like, relax, give her some time to mourn Tibble before pushing this on her, but the dad won't listen. Romeo comes to Juliet's home, so they smooch a lot, and then in the morning he needs to leave and because he's been banished. Juliet asks Romeo if he thinks things will eventually be okay. He says they'll laugh about it in the future. She asks God to send him back to her. So this is just him. They spend time together and then he leaves in the morning. So Juliet's father goes into her room in the movie and he's very angry. Not right away, but as soon as she tells him no, that she doesn't want to marry Paris, then he gets angry. He won't listen to her. He says if she doesn't do this, then she's not part of the family and that he's going to throw her out. So the nurse says, hey, you're going to have to marry Paris, whether you like it or not, because you don't have any choices. So there's the next scene, you'll see Romeo rides off on his horse out of Verona. And then Juliet and Friar Lawrence. So Juliet tells the friar that she'd rather die than marry. The friar decides to help her because she is serious about it. So he gives her a vial of medicine or some kind of potion to take, like a sleepy medicine. But it'll make it seem like she's dead to everybody for, I don't know, a day or two. So she takes the medicine with her. So the friar's plan is to write Romeo telling him that Juliet is going to take a potion that makes her look like she's dead to everyone. And then he's going to come and she's going to wake up. People think she's dead so she can be with him. Okay? So the messenger goes off to deliver that message to Romeo. So Julie returns home and pretends like she's going to, marry Paris. She's so sorry. She goes back to her room. She tells her nurse to go away, and she drinks the medicine or potion. And then the next morning, the nurse finds her, and she thinks she's dead. And then, so the parents are very upset. They tell Paris, and Paris is very upset. So later, the messenger has the letter he's supposed to get to Romeo. But on the way, there's this sick child, and the father comes out. And he's like, please help me. My child's sick. Do you know about herbs and medicine? He says yes. So he stops to help the child, which means he's going to be late to get that letter to Romeo. Okay, so I'm not sure if I have this name right, so I'm going to double check this. For some reason, I think this Balthazar might not be the right name, but I will double check it for you, okay? So this is the loyal servant of Romeo. Sees Juliet, her body is being carried off. So he he says to himself, oh, I'm going to go tell Romeo what happens. So he rides off on his horse. So it's actually the loyal servant tells Romeo that Juliet is dead. Romeo leaves and he buys some poison from someone. And his plan is to return to Verona and die with Juliet. So finally the messenger arrives to Romeo's new home, but he has already left. So Romeo doesn't know the plan. He doesn't know what's going on. Romeo goes to the monastery to be with Juliet, where Juliet's body is laying. So Paris is out front and wants to fight him, but Romeo doesn't want to fight him, but he does end up fighting and he kills Paris. The loyal servant of Romeo tells the friar that Romeo intends or plans to kill himself, and that he doesn't know about the, Friar Lawrence realizes, oh, he doesn't know about the plan. Oh no. So Romeo lays down beside Juliet. He drinks the poison and sees, so Romeo lays down beside Juliet. He sees her. He is talking to her. He drinks the poison. And just as he's drinking the poison, she starts to wake up. And then for a second, they are happy until they realize what is happening. They kiss, and then Romeo dies. So Friar Lawrence comes in and realizes his plan didn't go well, and he's really upset. Juliet now says she's going to kill herself. Friar tells her, no, you can't do that. I'll hide you with the nuns. She says, I want to be alone with Romeo for a minute. So the Friar Lawrence goes out, and there's someone coming, so he kind of like talks to him and tries to keep him away for a little bit, but he can't really do it. So the guy, whoever it is, wants in. So Juliet sees Romeo's sword, and she stabs herself with it. And then they're both dead at that point. So the last scene here, both the families are at a funeral. The prince talks about what they have both lost because of their hatred for each other, all the feuding, all the hatred of arguments. And he says maybe in the loss of Romeo and Juliet, these two families will learn to get along. Okay, so let me show you guys something real quick. Okay, so you're going to see, I'm going to go through this later. So some of the assignments that you're going to do, Shakespeare's Language of Love worksheet. There's a dictionary here that your teachers give you that kind of tell you what these different words that they use mean. And so they're going to ask you to do some translations. And here's an example. I am your kinsman, thou art my king's man. I beseech thee to give me thy trust. So you're supposed to put that line in your own words, which would be, I am your family, you are my family. I beg you to give me your trust. So there's a few of those you need to do, which I'll go over with you in a separate video. You could just see that I've gone through some of these translations. And then there's a complete synopsis circle, Romeo and Juliet worksheet. So you're going to read a passage, all right? And then you have to write a summary for each of these passages or narrations and translate some of the passages. So this is an overview. And I'm going to skip through this, but it's just shows you I've split up the narrations, and that later I'll be going over these narrations with you. I believe there's quite a few of them, so if we go down, yeah, you could see, I'm going to skip over. You could see how many there are. 15. Okay, and then, so there's 15 narrations that need to be done. So let me go down. I'm not going to go through all the assignments because this is for like a month's worth of work here. But I'm going to see if I can open up this right here. I'm not sure if it's going to open, but let me try.